With this guy, I'm gonna try an idea I have in my mind and thinking a few days ago that, man, I wish I could have more time to edit the videos, to place the colors, to do the little things and silly things. But with this video, I wanted to do the opposite way. I wanted to paint and directly record the video and show it to you without editing. So let's begin. With this medium glaze medium, we are using this with a new technique I had in my mind. We use this like water. We place this base color, trying to copy the figure done by Miguel. Is red from scale 75 with purple, and you do the mix and place it with medium. Why with this? I want to explain you now. You place it that, and this will give the paint much more time to work with. So now you get what I'm doing now. Okay, now still with the red. So when we finish this, giving all the base done, it's time to give the lights with the sunny skin tone. Okay, I looked at the illustration of Miguel, and this color seems to be okay. So you place it over that layer of wet paint, and you will notice that the two layers, the two colors, will mix together, will blend together, like more or less like oils. We are getting this glaze medium to use it like an oil paint. This is perfect because it possibilitates you to make a layer that integrates in one time base tone or the mid tone, lights and shadows, and you have this done, and you jump a lot of steps. So as you can see here, you place directly the skin over the red. Now you get the shadows. It's a mix of black with the base tone, and you place it directly, like sketching without fears. Just place the shadows, and you will notice again that they mix with the previous one. This is again for getting the base work done of the layer. But then we will unify. Imagine if this mix is not so degraded, so like a glaze. We will unify them after with a wash layer of the mid tone. Okay, this is a technique that my friend or a subscriber told me, Ramon. I had this in mind, but Ramon told me, man, use this glaze medium, and with a dryer you prevent the shine of the glaze medium. This technique I use it, but with mixing glaze medium with matte varnish to prevent this shine technique. But with dryer, you get it all. So thanks, Ramon. You are the best. Another important thing about this is that you, with this technique, like, you lose fears, man. You motivate yourself a lot because you are now in the mood of motivation of doing the things correctly. You have the layers and the lights nearly done, the shadows nearly done, and the only thing you have to do now is glaze over that work and do correctly and go to details. So with dryer, this is the result. As you see, it's a very rough sketch, but you see they are a little integrated. So again, this is for you to speed a lot with the paint. Now it's time to give glazes, as I said, glazes of shadows and lights. Now you get the sunny skin tone to place the highlights. Don't be so detailed with the dissolution. You can see here I'm painting. I'm actually painting. I'm not doing that glaze technique. I'm still sketching a bit because afterwards we will unify with a wash of the red leather, of the mid-tone red leather. This again is to speed. If you do this with glazes, you will get like maybe five highlights going up, but with my technique, with 2 or 3 layers, 2 or 3 tones, you get it. By the way, I want to change this color with a greenish tone because it's the complementary color of the red. This is a way of that Antonio Peña paints some parts of the red. He adds this complementary color, and man, the lights are really awesome with a bit of green. It's only a bit of green that you will see now when the figure is finished, or when this step is finished. This is an incredible sculpt from Pedro Fernandez. It has an amazing detail. Amazing. If you see my style, I'm always copying others and always getting inspired from others. Antonio Peña, Fran Frazetta, Benchi, Sergio Calvo, my friend Ramon. All this I get like little advices, little tricks, and I adapt them to my style. This is the best way to learn from others. Now we have the highlights. It's a bit strong, as you see. So the solution here: a wash with the red mid-tone, the red base, with a bit of glaze, and you place it. Here's the solution, like this, and you place this over the highlights with done. With this, you achieve a tone more near to the mid-tone, to the red, and it's much more integrated with the skin. So with this, we jump all this glazing, overworking, as you can see here. As you see, the layer of red we've given, it provides this smooth looking to the highlights. If you want more smooth, more unification, you can give another layer. So maybe in this part, in this light, it needs a bit more unification here and there. And now, when this is integrated, we get the same tone of the previous highlights and do the second part, the second step of the highlights. This is like max shadows, or nearly max, nearly max lights, no shadows, nearly max lights. Why was this the same tone? It's easy to explain. When we give the layer over that highlight with the red, we decrease a lot the tone, we desaturate it a lot. So this is, and when you paint over this with this color, when you paint with the same tone of highlight over this tone of highlight with the red, you get that light it needed. You don't need another color, you don't need to add anything, just with saturation. We are now using the saturation. See here, instead of giving 5 or 4 or 6 or 7 glazes until you achieve the tone you want, you just go painting, be freedom, and do whatever you want with the paint and go wrong, because the technique is going wrong to then unify and to speed a lot your paint. You see here I'm pointing a bit, pointing in some areas, and the areas I wanted more highlight, I go over the layer I gave before. So again I play with the saturation, and again if I get wrong, it doesn't matter, because the solution is giving a glaze over it, giving a red glaze, a red wash over that to decrease the tone. Now I see here a problem. The principal problem is that the skin doesn't have saturation, so it's quite easy to solution. Get a wash of red, place a wash of red. You have to dilute a lot the red because it stains a lot. It's a color that stains a lot. Red, the orange, the warm tones. You place it in the mid tone, so you create that saturation. Something I was nearly to do here, I was almost doing here, is to place the shadows before we do this, because if we place the shadows and then we place that wash of red, we integrated the shadows. But don't worry, because we can do this now and then do the shadows and then give this same tone in the shadows and the mid-tone, and we get double saturation. As you can see, I'm not giving that red in the feet, in the inferior part of the figure. Why? Because as we learned with the front faceta, with the Savage Beauty figure, we learned a lot with that video. I recommended you a lot. We learned that in that inferior part of the figure, the front faceta, give it not saturation, give a lot of the saturated tones. Why? Because he represented that the sun didn't arrive there so easily, and it fits very well with the figures. So now we are getting the shadows. You mix blue with black and you get that deep blue dark, or I don't know the color, the Vallejo color. It's blue with a lot of black, and you place correctly the shadows. This is important because first than the color theory, first than other things, goes knowing correctly where to place the shadows and the lights, where to see correctly and place and copy correctly the anatomy. This is, I think, is the most important lesson I can give you, to copy real anatomy, arms in this case, anatomy chest, and orcs is a bit difficult to do this, I know, but you can copy illustrations, famous illustrations of orcs, and do this. Okay, because why is this so important? Okay, as you see before, if you don't get correctly the tone you want, if you don't get the color you want, it's easy to do a wash, to make a wash over it, and to change totally the tone. But try to change a line, a dark line, or try to change the area or the shape of a dark line or a clear line. It's quite difficult to do. It's very difficult to do. So if you place correctly the lines, the shadows, with maybe this blue, and you want it with a red tone, you only have to wash over it. But it's instead, if you place a wrong shape with the correct color, man, it doesn't give you anything. You don't have there the solution. So it's more important for you to know anatomy and to place correctly the shadows and the lights, and then you will figure out the color you want. Now this is the result. We've done this in like 4 or 3 minutes. You have the shadows completely correctly done, the shapes, remember the lines in the point, ending in point, and now comes the interesting part. Doing this like this, by the way, now we are changing a bit the mid-tone because the Miguel orc was a bit more pink. You create that pink tone, and now it's time to unify only in the, well, to unify the shadows, to integrate it a lot with the midtone, and again speed a lot your paint. So I will show you the solution. The solution is like that, and you place over all. You place over all the shadows without fears. You place it like that, and remember to don't use water. You're using now medium because it's more transparent and the thickness changes a lot. It gives more transparencies to the paint without losing the consistency. This is with one layer. You see it well? You see that the layers of shadow it's more integrated. You jump a lot. You can do this with maybe a lot of work with glazes, but still needs a bit more, another layer of that pinky tone. So you give it to all the shadows. Now, I'm very silly, so I'm explaining you this in the second part. Man, forgive me. So you get, this is the solution, the correct solution. You do the, I'm doing now the mix of pink. Mix it with medium, use medium as water, a bit more of white, a bit more. And this is the solution. It's like a glaze, a bit more thick than a glaze. You can see the water don't spread out so easily because of the medium. So this is the second part of the layer. This type of work again needs a lot more of hours or minutes with glazes. So man, test it at home and see how it works. By the way, this is not finished, but I wanted to show you this. You can see here that we hide a lot the lights. So the process here is again popping out the lights, giving highlights with the same process than before. So I'm gonna speed the video. I'm gonna jump the video and show you the same part. We will add the last video of the highlights. This is the part. As you see, I added a bit more of this tone. Is a yellowish tone, ochre, yellow ochre, perfect with the emerald color from Vallejo. Again, using the complementary colors, and again using this Antonio Peña technique I love. So you have this, and what's the result here? It's a bit strong, as you see. So the process here is again unify with this wash of medium with pink. Only remember, only in the highlights. We did a mistake in the last step, going too much in the highlights, so that's why we hide it. Here's the result with one layer only in highlights with the unify layer. You can see they are unified. It needs a bit more highlight, but first we will give max shadows. and now we get the same color than the first part of the shadows, this deep blue dark, blue with a lot of black, and we place the max shadows. Remember, we are playing with saturation with the same tone. We are always painting with the same tone, only changing the unification, the layers, that the colors that underneath. We have this blue dark blue underneath the layer of red. And again, something I totally forgot to explain you this. Now we are playing with temperature. We're playing with the complementary colors in lights, and playing with temperature. This color is very cold, so this will generate contrast, a lot of contrast with the red, with a warm tone. So this is perfect to add a bit more of deepness to the shadows. So this, you do thin lines only in the deepest part of the muscles, or the shadows, or the areas. And again, remember to do the correct shape. This the correct shape is the clue, man. Get in your mind, this is the clue, this is the best way to paint. And this max shadows and max lights are the things you tell me when you send me a figure and you say me, hey, tell me what's the lack here, and always I told you more or less highlights and shadows, max highlights and max shadows. Gains a lot with that max shadows. Remember the tiny details. The other clue is paying a lot of attention to the details. And let's go to the highlights now. We change a bit the tone. Remember, we add ochre to the emerald. We add more ochre to the emerald and place max light. This is pointing. You have to dry a lot with the brush, get out more or less all the paint, and do little dots in a smaller area than before. Easy. And we again achieve that greenish tone it needed. Again, the same rule of saturation, but another explanation. When I place like a wrinkle or a layer with that green, if I place in the middle of the previous layer another layer of green, that middle part I'm painting would be more saturated. This is obvious, but man, play with this. Like in this part. In this part, I place light in the middle, not in that part, only in that part. So that part that's near to the neck, it's more saturated. It has more highlights. And now here is the result with the max lights. They are integrated. It needs a bit more of highlights. Max lights. I love giving that. In Spanish is puntacos de luz, like max point of highlight. Okay. We will give now the blue in the ears, change a bit the color in the ears. So again, same explanation. I don't like the color of the ears. I change it with a wash, but still, in the previous part, I place correctly the shadows and the lights of the interior part of the ear and the nose. So if I give a wash, a thin wash, you could see underneath that lines, that walk of shadows and lights with another color, with this part with excuse me, I don't express well in English. You can see this color, but with a bit more of blue in this case. If the shadows of the lights will be with another form, another area, the way to solution this is again doing the lights, again doing the shadows, again doing the blah, 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 blah. It's much more heavy work, much more boring work. If I had to begin learning how to paint, I surely will begin learning anatomy, learning where the shadows and the light goes, first than colors. Now again, I'm obsessed with the max points of highlights, taco de luz in Spanish. It gives more chicha and chicha again in Spanish. This is like with this 28 or 32 figures, it needs a lot of contrast, and with this puntacos de luz, with this max points of highlights, you achieve this. With this color, it's buff. No, it's yellow khaki. Only with yellow khaki, diluted like a glaze, you place little dots in some parts of the figure, in the upper part of the figure. In the face, you create little wrinkles. The most exposed part of the face, of the muscles, like in that part. You have to imagine this is a human face. In a human face, you always highlight a lot these parts. This part of the eyelids, the nose, of the cheeks, but doing thin lines. Maybe you have to get more thickness with the paint, because to do thin lines you can't do it with the glaze dissolution. You can see here you go inside the highlights you paint earlier, and in this part you go only in the superior part of the muscles, only in that part. I'm paying attention to the muscles, to the shape of the muscles. They are like balls or cylinders. This is the result. Okay, it gains a lot with the highlights, as I told you. But now it's time to the pants. We didn't do this layer thing, so now when we put the color of the pants, maybe the red will change a lot to our eye, because when you paint a color, it affects a lot the colors that nearby. So with English uniform, we'll place again a layer, and over this layer, over this wet layer, we place the shadows and the lights. Again, to speed a lot our painting. Again, get in mind, we are desaturating a lot the inferior part of the pants. Before it's dry, you get the dark blue. Is blue with black, and you place over it. If you see, when you place one layer, it has that tone of bluish brown. If you want more dark, add black, and you do the mix. When you do the mix, you get a tone of black, and if it needs more, you give over that a bit more of blue or dark. It's easy. The theory is easy, and to paint is easy. Just test it. Just lose fears and just paint. Sure, you will achieve it, man. Here you have the base layer, and this in the camera I thought it was recording, but it didn't was recording. So fuck. The only thing I was doing is giving highlights with mixing a buff with English uniform and a bit of orange to give more saturation, and do the highlight there. Easy. That part only in the upper part of the wrinkle, remember, not in the inferior part of the pants. Yeah, and the inferior part of the pants we give with water wash of emerald, of green. Why? Because I wanted to give it, and also because it fits a lot with this big partner, big boss, with the green. We have to always try to integrate all the elements of the scene. So these two elements, the green integrates a lot. These two guys. And now it's time to the non-metallic metal. We add a bit of blue, and you do the base of the metal, like in the trousers. This is like the color of the shadows of the red, but with more blue. With this, we add a bit of purple in the sides, and a bit of highlight with white mixed with blue. There, remember this is sketching, and remember how to unify this given a wash of the mid-tone that was the base layer, pure white. Just have fun, interpret correctly the light, and most important part of the non-metallic metal is the reflections and also the lines of the edge, highlighting the edge. What reflection does has this non-metallic metal? The arms. So get a wash of red and place it in the side of the non-metallic metal. Again, place highlights and use the blue. Oh, now we are doing the black. This is a quite important thing. You have to frame a lot the details. You have to separate all the objects with black or with a dark color. And now it's time to do the wash. The wash adding a bit more of tone, blue tone, and this integrates the highlights and the shadows. While that layer is wet, you can add a bit of white to do the wet blending technique. And then what we do, unify with blue. This is always the same. Sketching, unify, sketching, unify, sketching, unify, to jump of steps. That's it. You have it. All the details are easy to do. If you have any question, just tell me. A glass with a bit of foam and a bit here to do the pics. You all will ask me how to do this. It's quite difficult, I know.